This was a pleasant surprise and not necessarily what I was expecting. These are Kyoshin Elle European pricking irons from Goods, Japan, and I ordered these a little while ago, and I have to say, when they turned up, the first impression was they look very Blanchard to me, and we will revisit, if I can find them, the Blanchard irons, and we'll put that side by side. And you would suspect, I mean, some people may use the word copy, but to be fair, if you copy a shape, it has to be a distinctive shape for it to be any sort of breach. I mean, ultimately it looks like a big fat chunky spoon. Give that a well and you're there. So really, it's not necessarily a shape that can be copied. I appreciate that Blanchard are the only ones that do these swells on the shoulders, and Kyoshin Elle have done the same thing, but in the grand scheme of things, they can't necessarily be criticised for that. It's about what the tool does compared to what it just looks like. But I ordered these two irons. Now, this is 8 stitches per inch. No, it isn't, my apologies. This is 9 stitches per inch. This is the EMS 1006, which is the 6 tooth, and it will give you 10 holes per inch. So the 1006 is 10 holes per inch, giving you 9 stitches per inch and 6 teeth. If you can work that out, rather than just saying it's 9 SPI. But there we go. I think the UK is the only one that does the SPI. America, you tend to do tines per inch TPI, and the French, I think, do the same sort of thing. And from, you know, if you've got 10 tines per inch, you're going to get 9 stitches from it. It's made from stainless steel. The overall quality is very high, and I would have to say that the notable thing is that these teeth are polished, and they slide in and out of the leather, an absolute dream. The Tandy one in particular was quite rough. These aren't the smoothest teeth in the world, but then again, you're not going in very far, so you don't even notice. But I suspect you only need to give this a gentle tap and it'll go all the way through because of the polished teeth. Paramount when you're looking at an awl and you're looking at something fully penetrating the leather. When you're looking at just pricking the leather, it's not absolutely vital, but a nice touch. Really nice finish, very even, very symmetrical, and that's one thing that for some reason, it's my OCD I think kicking in, that these shoulders, they do appear slightly different because this is beveled down all the way up to the shoulder for the first tooth, and it's the same on the other side. This is beveled down. It makes the shoulders look a little different, but in truth they're not. If you draw around it and turn it over, they're perfectly symmetrical. That's really sweet. I like that. It's that little bit of presentation that means a lot, that somebody who's made it has taken care to make it look the way it should be. The distinctive thing that I'm quite impressed with is this actually costs £29.69, less than £30, 156 quid. I've said enough about that. I'm going to get rid of that, otherwise I'm going to keep on going on about it. £22.10p for the 2-prong. They only do the 6-prong and the 2-prong. Kyoshin Elle from Goods Japan, if you're listening, or Kyoshin Elle sold by Goods Japan, it would be nice to have a wider one. Just something to consider for the future. I was impressed with the quality, the finish. These aren't polished. This is exactly how it comes, and I was quite pleased. Like I said, made from stainless steel. Now, I'm not an expert on steel by any stretch of the imagination, really, seriously folks. I've probably said so much in this video that is incorrect, and those out there that are experts on steel are probably cringing and penning angry anti-metal emails to me as we speak, but Goods Japan have supplied me with a phenomenal amount of information, and that has made my job easier, so I can say that they are stainless steel. Unfortunately, Kyoshin Elle hasn't supplied whether they've been case hardened or not. Now, there's a number of people saying, well, stainless steel doesn't keep an edge, doesn't last as long. I appreciate that, but we're not after cutting the leather. It's not a knife, and you don't really have to sharpen these up unless you damage them. You're going to hit it with a hammer. If this was a nail and you hit it with a hammer, it would go through the leather. They're not sharp. These are sharpened. They're not super sharp. They're not knives. You can just feel there's an edge to it. And that's enough for you to mark your leather. And that's all you're doing is marking. You're not penetrating. Whereas the stitching iron that you want to fully penetrate, you want them sharp because they've got to go all the way through. Your awl, which fully penetrates, has got to be sharp because it goes all the way through. These just prick. They don't need to be super sharp. So stainless steel is good enough. Tandy have done their tool, stainless steel. That fully penetrates and it does the job. But for 30 quid, you get this little beast and the quality that it comes in. I'm bowled over. I think that's fantastic. The pair of them, 50 quid. That's not bad. 6 of these, 150 quid. That's the price of that. Still going on about it, just really staggered by the price of the Blanchard, 156 quid. Goodness. You can get yourself a set of 6 of these. Now they come in a little bit unusual sizes. This is the 2.5mm, which will give you 9 stitches per inch. Then they do the 3.5mm, which will give you 7.5 stitches per inch. And then, no, sorry, got that wrong. This is the 2.5mm giving you 9 stitches per inch. I've got this one here, I've checked it, it gives you bang on 9 stitches per inch. Then there's a 3mm that will give you 7.5 stitches to an inch. And then there's a 3.5mm that will give you 6.3 stitches to the inch. Little confusing, but nonetheless, you can get 9, 7.5 and 6.3 stitches per inch, and you can get the 6-prong and the 2-prong in each size. That will give you a reasonable range and an ability to do pretty much most things. You're either going to do sort of fine, neat stuff at 9 stitches per inch, or you can do something chunky, maybe 7.5, 6.3 stitches per inch. I'd have expected maybe a little bit of a bigger gap between them, but or more of them, I don't know, but certainly I think there's the possibility for some scope. They haven't been out very long. There is the possibility that if these do well, they may decide to do more, something a little broader, which would be really nice for doing long straight runs or different sizes. But the thing that staggered me was how easy they are to use. And, well, I think, again, it's 30 quid, how good that can they be? And it was possibly my expectations being a little low and being surprised. But when you look at that, what a lovely crisp row of holes. Hardly any effort to tap. We'll have a go at putting a stitch through and we'll see what we think. Now I'm going to be stitching with number 4 needles, 0.6mm thread, because it's 9 stitches per inch. The first thing that you do notice, however, is how broad the hole is, and when you look at the tool length, the tooth length is 2.5mm. So that's kind of chunky. Maybe closer to 2mm would have been nicer. That tooth is a little bit broad for 9 stitches per inch. Something a little narrower would be really, really nice. And I think if that was ground down to 2mm, certainly for the 9 stitch per inch, I think if this is the same tooth width for the 7.5 and the 6.3, that would probably suffice nicely because you're using a heavier thread. But if we're using the 0.6mm or a nice 18.3 linen thread, the tooth hole might be a little bit too large. I could really see this being 2mm, possibly slightly less, and that would really then come into its own, and that would be quite a little treasure to have in anybody's toolbox. 0.6mm thread, number 4 needles, 9 stitches per inch, Kyoshin Elle, 30 quid. Let's have a look. Interesting point. Just come off camera to put this in the clam, thought I'd have a look. Noticed that didn't look very even. Had a closer look and realised that one of the teeth was actually out of shape. And that is quite unusual because I've had a play with this and I didn't think it was out of shape. So what I'm going to do, tap it in the middle and turn it round. Well, straight away, if you have a look at that line there, you can see how bizarre. So unfortunately I've actually forgotten which way round that was. Looks like it might have been that. We'll turn it back the other way. That's the way it was. Turn it back. And it's giving a little bit of a double impression. So, I'm not entirely sure if that's something that I haven't picked up on before, or if I've done something unusual to it. But I'm going to have a play with that. It's this tooth here that seems to be out ever so slightly. I'm just going to see, I'm going to drive this scratch hole between the teeth, and that moves that quite nicely. And that seems to put it back a little, so let's have another tap and see what happens there. That certainly seems to be a lot better. Okay, so I've had a play with that. They do bend. I've obviously done something to it. I don't recall doing anything in particular. What I will do with the scratch hole, when I work out where I've actually put it, is I'll just do a little mark under there, a little squiggle, so I know that I'm going on the right one, and I shall make my marks again. And that looks a little straighter, so that's the one that I'll stitch. I do want to show it in the best light. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. Whether the difficulty is, and it may be my own fault, is I can feel that rising ever so slightly. I have kind of blocked all these together, and I may not have taken the care that I should have done because I've got so many eyes and stuck them in a box. In the grand scheme of things, that may well be it. Or it may have come like that, I don't know. I shall have a play. But certainly they're the squiggly line, and that's the one that I'm going to stitch, so we'll have a look at that and we'll take it from there. So, Kyoshin Elle European stitching iron, 9 stitches per inch, using number 4 needles with 0.6mm thread. Having had a play with a bent tooth, and it is interesting because there are a number of tools, the craft shark, the Sawa in particular, that use a high quality tool and then case harden the metal, and they state that they would rather the tool break than bend, and that will prevent a poor stitching line. And we can see there Dixon's bend. I've never had the Osborne bend, but that is a chunky monkey. This one has bent. It can have an effect if you haven't spotted it, which I hadn't. You know, if I was making something really, really expensive and looked back at my stitching line, or there is the possibility that I hadn't even noticed and stitched and then looked at it and realised it to be out, I'd have been a very unhappy teddy bear. No two ways about it. So I think 30 quid, yeah, it's reasonable price. Presentation, yeah, looks great, nicely polished, goes through, but I don't remember doing anything particularly harsh to that pricking iron. And if the teeth are going to bend that easy, then you've got to ask yourself the question, well, do you want to run the gamble of accidentally bending a tooth and knackering a whole piece that you're working on? And I would rather pay a little more and get something that isn't going to bend. And there we come back to, isn't it? It's 156 quid. Ooh. Would you rather have 6 irons that potentially bend for 156 quid and have a nice range, or would you rather spend the money on 1 iron that doesn't bend and is going to give you pristine stitches every time? It depends on your budget. Let's remove budget. Let's look at quality of work. If it's quality of work, then it's a no-brainer. If the Blanchard irons are not going to bend, are going to give you the pristine stitch every single time for the entire duration of your career, then you would spend the money on those. It just seems like a really lot of money. Whereas these, and I'll be brutally honest with you, right up until that moment of time on camera, I was chuffed to bits with these. I was bowled over. I left it till last because I was so chuffed and excited to share that Kyoshin Elle had knocked up something that was comparable to other irons. Then to go and have, I mean, it was so easy to knock it back out of, or knock it back into shape and hide that from you on the camera. Just going to bang the thread down. And hide it from you and go, these are fantastic, these are awesome, these are 30 quid, buy these. My confidence has been knocked a little, which is a shame because look at the stitching, and this is what I was building towards. 30 quid pricking iron's done that. That's lovely. For the price of that and the quality of that stitch, you would be really, really happy. And here we are as a judgment call. This is the moment in truth. If you're happy to check every single time and make sure that they're absolutely pristine and straight, or if you've got the ability to have it case hardened, and I don't know how much that would cost. Let's say, for instance, it costs a tenner. You buy a set of irons, you send them off to get case hardened, and after they're case hardened, they won't bend. So now all of a sudden it's cost you 40 quid, but it does that job and won't bend. You would be happy with that, wouldn't you? I would. So I think Kyoshin Elle, if you're watching this, or if anybody that knows them, and I might even send them an email saying, look, you've got a winner here, but the stainless isn't working, or you've got to do something really dramatic to stop those teeth from bending. And if we go back to the craft sharp, bear with me, talking off camera slightly. Ugly beast. Lovely. Not traditional. Traditional. Oh, they're talking to each other. Hello. This fully penetrates the leather. This pricks. But this is made of D2 tooling steel and case hardened. This is stainless steel and bends. This is going to be more consistent than this is. Let's see some quality. At the moment, we've got, and now we've done that, that's the last one, so we've had a look at that. What I'm going to do is just expand out to the log and put the irons down, and I'll talk in more detail, so bear with me. Right, I'm just showing off here really. A lot of irons. What do you buy? What do you spend your hard-earned money on? If you're running a business, I mean, to be fair, any professional leather workers out there, you're already going to have your irons. This is for people looking at getting started, learning, looking at what's available, looking at where best to invest your money and why. And at the moment, there is no one leader. Each one has qualities that puts it ahead slightly in one way, shape or form. The Blanchard, there's a lot of work in these teeth. The teeth are slim, very, very far up, so they can go deeper. So if you do make a mistake and hit it too hard, you still get a very even, consistent hole. The Kyoshin Elle are cheap, but they bend. The Dixons are expensive and look like ugly sisters of the pantomime world. They also bend, less frequently. I mean, bearing in mind I've only had this 10 minutes, and these don't bend that often. And mainly the ones that bend are the slimline, smaller irons. I don't know if they're different steel to these, I don't know, but these are the ones that bend. I've never had one of the 1.5" teeth bend on me. You've got the Pro line that will break rather than bend, but you're looking at £6 for one, so in the grand scheme of things, you break it, you bin it, you buy another one. A disposable mentality, I do appreciate that, but in that respect, you know, I think it was something like under £100, you can buy all the Pro line ones. For under £150 you can buy all the Kyoshin Elle ones. The Craft Shah irons, I mean, to be fair, I think out of all of them, that's the one that I've criticised the least. So if there was a clear winner, it may be the Craft Shah. Fully penetrates, takes the necessity for the all away, made of the best steel out of all of them, designed to break rather than bend, but probably won't because it's D2 hardened steel. So really, if you had to look at the strongest, it's probably the Craft Shah. If you had to look at the cheapest, it's probably the Pro line. And again, I'll be corrected on the name of these. It's an ambiguous iron that I can only see on eBay, and Proline is the only name I've come up with the company. If anybody can come up with this logo and the proper name of it, please let me know and I'll correct it. I'll put a little banner underneath. So that was the Osborne. You know, you're looking at £50-60 for a semi-decent pricking iron from Dixon's or Osborne. You're looking at £150 or so for a Blanchard. You're looking at £30 for the Kyoshin. You're looking at £20 a set for the Pro line. You're looking at £15 for the Craft Shah. The Tand is in here somewhere as well, which is £26. I mean, yeah, we've had a little bit of a criticism. This is stainless steel, which in theory is the same stuff as the Kyoshin Elle is made from, but the looks of it looks like a higher quality, and I do appreciate that you get different levels of stainless steel. But these teeth are really, really thin. I think what was it, 1.2 mil or something like that? There's no bend or variation on that at all, and I've used that quite a lot, whereas this one hasn't been used an awful lot, and there is a bend. There is the possibility I've not paid attention and it came like that. That could be a manufacturing fault. Something nasty could have happened to it. A gorilla could have fallen off the shelf and landed on it and bent it out of shape, and I just haven't noticed. I don't know. I would find it surprising to believe that I've caused that to bend, because I haven't done anything with it to bend it. Whereas the Proline, because they're so cheap, I've been brutal and I've hammered it into this piece of wood like a nail to see if it would break, and it did. I did that intentionally. I haven't done anything like that with the Kyoshin. I was quite smitten with the Kyoshin, so I was quite careful, I thought, with it, because it gave such a lovely stitch, and it did. It gave a beautiful stitch. The Craft Tool Pro from Tandy, lovely job. A little bit too shallow, a little bit too long. It needs to be smaller teeth, Tandy. Now that's on this one. This is the 88.0 5510. The ones that give you a bigger stitch per inch would probably suit quite nicely, but this is the only one that I've got, so I can't really measure against it. Maybe in the future what would be nice is to have each and every one of each and every tool so they could be measured correctly. But I think if these teeth are the same throughout the line, as the stitches per inch come down towards, you know, your 7s, your 6s, your 5s, these may come into their own. These may be a lot better, but on this one they're a little bit too large. You've had a look at the stitch, you've had a look at the quality. These 3mm jobbies give a lovely stitch. This Proline, not Proline at all, the Kyoshin Elle gives a lovely stitch. It's a shame that the Seiwa hasn't turned up from Goods Japan, because that was one that needed adding to the list. But it ended up in Jamaica, and I'm not entirely sure where it is now, and I'm just running out of time for the video. The Dixons, I've been stitching with these for years. You've seen my stitching, you've seen the quality of it. You can make your own mind up if it's good or bad, but that's done with the Dixon irons. They're not the best, they're not the worst, they're not the most expensive, they're not the cheapest. They're in the middle of the block for the reason. They're in the middle of the block because they are in the middle, and they are surrounded by best price, nice results, very expensive. All the other irons vary. There is a consistency with the Dixons. The quality's a bit poor. Could up that, Dixons. You really could play with your presentation. But they work. They work a dream. But that being said, the Craftshaw works a dream. But when it's straight, so does the Kyoshin Elle. I have no definitive answer. If you ask me which iron should I go for, I couldn't recommend one over another. I think I could possibly discount. I don't know if the Pro lines are going to be around forever, because the company's a little bit ambiguous. If I can firm that up, that might have a better understanding of if they're going to last. I think Kyoshin Elle need to harden the metal up or use a different metal for their irons, and I think if this was a tooling steel or case hardened, then the Kyoshin Elle would be a force to be reckoned with, especially if they made a slightly larger one. So 3 sizes, the 2-prong, the 6-prong, and maybe a 15-prong, like 1.5 inches. Case hardened, detooling steel, or D2 tooling steel, they would be unstoppable. They would be the best in the world, and if they kept the price right. Blanchard, really expensive, but again, like Dixon's, they do the job. If you want to spend that money, I think you are going to get value for money, because they're going to last you a lifetime. Don't know how long these will last. Don't see these lasting a huge amount of time. The Craftshaw, I think, will probably outlast a number of these other irons. So, folks, that's it. This is just my opinion, and I've been learning as I've gone along. And the Kyoshin Elle was a prime example that came as a surprise to me. Make your own mind up. This is just ramblings of a bloke that plays with leather. It's no substitute for you finding out for yourself. Speak to people that you know. Speak to people that own these. Find out what their thoughts and feelings are, and take it from there. Certainly, I've been revering the quality of these, but I am a little taken aback with how soft the metal is. If you take care, if you stick it on a ruler every time before you use it, then they're going to give you a straight line. They certainly give a beautiful, beautiful stitch, but so does that, but so does that. They all give a really nice stitch. Tandy, tines are too big, angles too shallow. Change those, you'll be a force to be reckoned with. You don't do a two-prong tool at the moment, add that, change those, could be a world leader, who knows. Be flexible, look at what's available, look at what people actually want. What they want is something robust, something that's going to do the job as neatly as possible, as consistently as possible, and last. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed my ramblings, and that's all they are, ramblings. If I've got something wrong, don't be shy, let me know. Rather than leaving a comment at the bottom of the video, because I don't always check YouTube, drop me an email. If you drop me an email, I'll see it and I can adjust it. There is a sheet that goes with this that's available from my website. Have a look at the bottom now for a link. Download it, it's free. Again, if I've made mistakes in it, let me know and I will adjust it. But I hope this helps you make an informed opinion about what the best tool for you is. Thanks very much and happy stitching.